just push. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to ask you to kindly turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate, please. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome our viewing audience and those in attendance. I'm going to ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioners, we have two items on the agenda this evening. First, we are going to take into consideration the October 20th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, Commissioners. As I initially stated, we have two items on our agenda this evening. We are in receipt of a letter from the applicant for the land development, that their land development presentation be continued to our next meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve continuing that application.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Commissioners. The next item on our agenda is subdivision. PER-Sons Associate and Henry and Raymond Parati, I hope I pronounced that correct, 2605 Durham Road and 316 Radcliffe Street, Bristol, PA, requesting preliminary subdivision approval in order to relocate the existing lot line on the property located at 2605 Durham Road, Bristol. Tax parcels number 5-20-26-003 and 5-20-27 in a C Commercial Zone District of Bristol Township. We have a representative.
Yes, good evening. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant and landowner.
Mike, good evening, and if you have a business card at the end, just present that to the
I will.
table. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. As I indicated, Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of Mr. Parati, who is also with us tonight, who's the owner of the subject parcels. We also have with us Mike Eggleton, who's from Pickering and Courts, is the surveyor who prepared the plans which are in front of you tonight. Furthermore, and I know this might be subject of some conversation, we also have, I think it's Brandon, and I'm sorry, okay, who is associated with the proposed brewery use on the site, which again is not part of the necessarily the lot line change which is in front of you, but I think the township is aware of potential future uses on this property. So to the extent there are questions or conversations warranted regarding that use, we do have representatives here with us who can speak to those concerns. The subject property is 2605 Durham Plaza, or Durham Road. Is the Parati Plaza in Zone C Commercial. What is in front of you tonight is a lot line change application where there are no intended improvements associated with that.
Okay, and Mike, I'm going to ask you if you'll, do you have a pointer by any chance? I just happen to have one if you need one.
Perfect.
I would appreciate it for our viewing audience if you just point out the different things that we're discussing.
Tom, I see that's...
I hope it works. No? Dead battery. Oh, man. Well, being you're standing
Maybe
there.
oh, wait, I saw a red light.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have Mr. Eggleton, who's going to be covering, again, from a technical standpoint, if it comes back on the screen, where the proposed lot line alteration is. I indicated to the Planning Commission that there are no building improvements or exterior improvements associated with this project. It is simply a lot line change application. And just to orient the Planning Commission, and maybe Mike, you can illustrate this on the screen, the current configuration of this lot is there's two parcels, and what I'm going to label as Lot 1 is the 003 parcel. That is 29,705 square feet currently. And then, if,
What's happened to Bobby Tag when he's here?
and then when it comes back on the screen, I'll have Mike point out the current 29,000 square foot.
I think our
lot.
flash drive has a virus.
We have a second flash drive. We can
Okay.
try to swap out the flash drive.
This happened last week, too.
Okay. All right, so what you're pointing at, Mike, the 29,705 square foot portion, can you just briefly show the current composition before the lot line change of what we're labeling as Lot 1, which is presently improved with an office building and detached garage? And then the second lot, which we'll point out, is 89,610 square feet, and that lot is presently improved with two two-story buildings with a retail shop use and one attached garage. So in total, you have really three what I would label principal uses: a detached garage and an attached garage between the two lots. But the breakdown is rather inequitable in terms of one lot being approximately 29,000 square feet and the other lot being 89,000 square feet. What we're proposing with this lot line change is to alter the lot lines to create a situation where Lot 1 goes from 29,705 square feet to 57,668 square feet. And then Lot 2, of course, would be giving that property to Lot 1, and Lot 2 would therefore go from 89,610 square feet to 61,647 square feet. This might be a little confusing, so I'll take a step back. We did appear in front of the zoning hearing board last week. Mr. Parati, as the property owner, appeared and received variances pertaining to the impervious surface coverage on the property. And again, not because we're proposing to increase the impervious surface, but because of the reallocation of the lot lines, the impervious surface percentage is shifting a bit, and it's already a non-conforming lot. It's way over what you're permitted from an impervious surface standpoint. So we received a variance because of the reallocation of that percentage. And then from a parking standpoint, we are, depending upon how you calculate the ultimate right-of-way with parking spaces on the site, it was a prior non-conforming condition. We're actually adding, with how this is being striped, parking, but we received a variance just to basically confirm the existence of the non-conforming condition insofar as parking is concerned. But why I'm clarifying this is Stephen Harris, another land use counsel, also appeared at the zoning hearing board on behalf of the brewery, which is going to be located on this property. And my understanding is they received a variance related to their potential use. And because Mr. Harris was there that evening on behalf of the brewery, he also did the zoning presentation on behalf of the applicant tonight. So it's a little confusing regarding the number of pieces and the different parties who have been involved. But to distill it to its basics tonight, the land development, the land use application is a lot line change to, again, reapportion the two properties in the manner which I described. One item that I will point out is Ms. Brinker's review letter has a requirement to provide Mr. Flager's office with reciprocal access and easement agreements, which we will, of course, do to the satisfaction of the township if we receive the township's approval for this. Other than the waivers, which we'll discuss, the rest of the items in Gilmore & Associates' review letter are all will complies. We had originally identified a couple waivers. I have supplemented that waiver request today to add additional waivers. I don't know, Mike, if you just want to take a quick second and highlight, now that I think I will take responsibility for that.
So I think, Mike, it would
yeah.
be, because we are having this issue.
Yes.
I think it would be a good idea for the purpose of the record if you just go through the waiver request.
Absolutely.
Include the numbers and everything.
Yes.
For the record.
Happy to do so. Our first waiver request is from section 177-14E, which is a request for preliminary final consideration in tandem. Our second waiver request is from 177-91A1 and 177-92A1, which is the scale drawing requirement because we wanted to depict more on the plan. So that's those waiver requests. We have a waiver request from 177-91C3 and 177-92C3 regarding natural features. We do have some off-site features depicted on the plan, but we're asking for a waiver because, again, we're not suggesting any improvements with this application. Those were the initial waivers which were identified, and then after we received Gilmore & Associates' review letter, we did supplement those waiver requests with the following waivers. Waivers from 177 43A, which is a sidewalk, the requirement to add sidewalks on the site. I believe it's an accurate statement to state that there are no sidewalks in the vicinity on either end of Durham Road, so we're asking for a waiver from that section. 177-45A, which is requiring curbs on all abutting streets. Again, we're asking for consideration for that waiver due to the lack of proposed development. And then finally, a waiver request from 177-51A1AC relating to street trees. So those are the additional waivers, and the justification is, again, that this is a lot line change with no improvements proposed. And that
Okay.
would substantially conclude our waiver requests.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I do. You had mentioned something about a brewery, and you said that the township is aware, there's some conversation going on with that. Unfortunately, this commission is not aware.
Okay.
So if you would care to elaborate about what's happening with that?
Sure, so I'd like to clarify as well.
Yep,
If you
feel
would,
free.
if you would please come up to the microphone and identify yourself, sir. Thank you.
My name is Brandon Wellington, and the brewery is called Broad Street Brewing. And just to clarify, Stephen Harris is the attorney for Edward Weber, who is my partner in the brewery as well. But he's the one purchasing half of his property, and then he's going to have tenants, and one of the tenants is the brewery. So that's where he got approval for the subdivision and
Got the
the
zoning
use.
approval for that
Correct.
use.
Yes.
Yes.
So that put that piece of the puzzle together,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, so, sorry about that. I didn't want to jump in when.
No, absolutely.
So that's what last week's meeting was. But I'd be happy to go through I wasn't prepared. My partner he just had a baby 2 nights ago, so I'm kind of stepping in for him.
Well, congratulations for him.
Yeah,
You're probably going to have a brewery so he can raise his children, I guess, you know. If you want to elaborate the best as you can about what this is,
Of
the
course.
brewery, because we are looking at now something else that didn't basically come in front of this
Right.
land development, lot line change, because now we want to see what is going on with that other.
right. So essentially what's not going to change is there's a few other tenants that are there right now. I believe it's the auto tags all the way down the left. There's 2 vacant spaces which we will use, or which Ed will use. I can't speak for him because it's not my entity. But he's going to sub that out to certain tenants, maybe a beauty salon or a pizza place. And then the other portion of that, I guess it's lot 2 that we're buying, or he's buying, will be used for the brewery. Essentially, it's just a facility. It's not meant to, the only reason we're having people on site is to abide by the Type R license for manufacturing. You're mandated to have at least 10 seats. But it's branded towards Philadelphia, and our distribution is going to be down there. So this is more or less just a production facility. We're not trying to create a bar scene and all that stuff. There will be, a tasting room on site, but it will be in no means what's been there in the past, for lack of a better word. I don't know much about that, but apparently it's been
Okay,
more
and I
of a
would
bar.
like to congratulate your partner on the new birth in
Sure.
his family, so
Thank you.
if you'll pass that on, in case he's not watching.
Yeah.
So do you, because one of the things that we looked at this, about that letter to the township about sharing the common driveway. So you had access to both lots, correct?
Yes.
My question would be, what would happen if either one of the owners decide to sell their property, and they may even put a new building in, and, has any consideration been given to that, or is that part of something that will come to, whenever that happens, they'll have to agree with what is already existing as far as shared parking?
So two, if I can, two
Sure.
items there. First, I believe it was actually stated at the zoning hearing board as a condition of the approvals that there are not going to be additional buildings developed on these parcels because of the fact that this is a highly developed piece of ground anyway.
Okay.
So I want to state that in front of the Planning Commission. And then secondarily, there would be, I think, any agreement with respect to access and parking would be recorded against the land, and that would be binding regardless of any future transfers. So
Okay.
that will cover that
Thank
issue
you.
as well.
Thank you, sir, appreciate your presentation.
Sure.
Any questions from the commission? Samantha?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Tom?
I do have a couple of questions, if you'll indulge me. Mr. McGinnis, the land development application for the, has there been a land development application filed for the improvement, or for the use of the, for the brewery?
No, well, not that I'm aware of, but I need to be careful here because I don't represent the brewery, Mr. Harris does. And from a procedural standpoint, we submitted this application, the lot line application, separate and apart from the brewery. And the reason for that is the brewery had to go in front of the zoning hearing board, separate councils, it's a separate matter. And regardless of whether the brewery was approved, which it was last week, we were moving forward with this in any event. So the lot line change is something that my client, Mr. Parati, wants to effectuate regardless of what the ultimate result was with the brewery. So we're in a unique situation because these two tracks are moving together in tandem with each other, but there is separate consideration for each of those, which is even if the brewery didn't exist, we would still want this lot line change approved because we think it's more beneficial to the site. So I can't make a definitive statement on behalf of Mr. Harris as to what has or has not been submitted with his use because we were still going to seek approval for the lot line change regardless.
Okay.
That's fair. Do you know if, based on, if you know, you don't know, that's fine too, or whether or not any improvements are going to be needed for the parking lot, the sanitary sewer connection, anything with regards to the proposed Broad Street use?
My understanding was there were no intended improvements, but that's just my understanding.
Well, the outside of the building is going to be improved.
But in terms of the exterior.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to speak to the board and instead of each other, so we understand what's going on.
Certainly, sorry.
Thank you very much.
And I will turn this over in a second. Just for a point of clarification, when I use the word improvement as a term of art, I'm considering exterior site improvements, not in terms of the architectural or any interior layouts, but feel free.
As am I.
Right.
Yeah, I can't speak for the sewer. That would be more of a, I don't know what the.
Whatever's there, you're going to be.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Is that park on that light green?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
There might be a need for improvements to the sanitaries. I have no idea, which would be a big deal, and would need, land development approval or some sort of process that makes its way through land development with a waiver or a full-blown land development plan. Here we go.
If you would like to step to the podium, sir.
Parati, the owner of the property.
So if you could identify yourself, sir.
Raymond Parati, owner of the RHR Mechanical and also Persons Associates, who's the owner of the property. My understanding is that the lot itself, as far as any changes to that, would not be required. The only thing that I think that they're going to be doing is fixing the facade of the building to make it more presented for the area. But I mean, as far as changing parking or anything like that, they're really not going to change anything. As far as the entrances go, nothing's going to be changed. And as far as an agreement, as far as bringing trucks in and out, because there's a fence there or whatever, that'll be something that we'll have a cross agreement as far as we can come through or they can come through. And then as far as access to the property after it's split, right now the way the property is, there's entrance at one end, entrance at the other end, and then entrance is in the center, so it actually does have access. Even if you were to separate it, they can access both properties, you know, with two separate driveways for each one, the way it's laid out.
I appreciate that information. And Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask a follow-up, if you'll indulge me.
Yes, sir.
My point is that you might be, whoever might be required to make improvements. You may need a secondary egress point. You may need additional parking spaces marked on the site. You may need to make improvements to the sanitary sewer connection. I don't know. But if there's no land development application pending, then we don't know if that's been reviewed. So what I would suggest, and if the commission will indulge me, between now and your appearance before the council for this, that those things be, that get fleshed out a little bit. And if it's already underway between the township engineer and that party, Mr. Weber and his consultants, fine. But if it's not, then I think it would be fair to, because we don't want to say, yeah, let's change the lot line, and you kind of make a around the land development process. Because we've already identified 3 uses, right? The brewery, there could be a pizza place, and I forget what the other one was, Beauty?
They're existing now.
Right, so,
You already have the rentals.
right, so you've got a sewer connection with 3,
You already have them present.
right, but you don't have a brewery there now, is my point.
Well, I had a bar there that had.
Yeah, but that doesn't, that we don't erase everything and say, well, that's fine, there used to be a bar there, then the sanitaries and the sewer is the same. Unless it's looked at, we don't know that. Now, Gilmore obviously has somebody very talented that does that for us, but my point is, again, I just want to emphasize that, by the time you get in front of council for this plan, I think that's worth running down. All right?
I have absolutely no objection, of course, as you're aware, having a dialogue with the township to make sure they're satisfied with everything on this site. My only point in rehashing the procedure of it is I think the site benefits from a lot line change, whether there was a brewery or not that ever goes in there, which is why we made the application independent of anything the brewery's doing.
So if I can throw a little humor into this.
Absolutely.
So this is like Sesame Street. We're the same, but we're different. You're coming in this way together, but separate. So we kind of understand that.
Understood.
As Tom just said, though, it probably would be prudent to actually reduce stuff down onto the maps and everything, or have it covered, so that by the time it comes in front of council, council has a clearer view of exactly what you're talking about. Because whatever the decision of this board is, and how we make our recommendation, ultimately our responsibility is to take a lot of the questions out of the council's thoughts, so they can look at what's in front of them and make a clear decision on what they want to do.
Understood.
Okay? Commissioners, are there any other questions?
I have one.
Yes, Kathy.
Through you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify. You had said, besides the waivers that are being requested, the Gilmore and Associates letter dated November 1st, 2021 is a will comply?
That's correct.
So specific to that, under general review comments, there were some comments that were about cleaning up the plan. You know, the impervious service breakdown, and to you know, show on the deed line ultimate right of way clearly shown. So that will all be revised onto the plan.
Yes, I actually think we can't see it, unfortunately, with the way this plan is, but I think there is an impervious surface breakdown. But yes, that will continue to be clarified.
Okay, there were changes, so shown on the plan, so it's just, that's the clarification about the changes. Then also, the other thing is for the reciprocal parking agreement, is that going to be recorded on the plan, or is that just going to be a document agreement?
It would be recorded with the county, so if anybody pulled something of record, it would attach to the deeds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions from the commission? again, Samantha?
I would like to make one statement. The brewery has been in contact with the Bristol Township Sewer Department engineer, and they are currently working out if any additional sewer is needed. So I will follow up with that before the council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Tom, anything else? Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience? Hearing no questions from the audience, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. In regards to, PUR, Sons Associates, and Henry and Raymond Parati, 2605 Durham Road and 316 Radcliffe Street, Bristol, PA, requesting preliminary subdivision approval in order to relocate the existing lot line on the property located at 2605 Durham Road, Bristol. Tax parcels number 5-20-26-003 and 5-20-27 in a C commercial zone district of Bristol Township. I'd like to preface by saying that this is just for the lot line change, and as Tom and John had discussed, anything after that that's a separate issue.
Understood.
This is just about the lot line change. So in regards to that, we would recommend to council to approve. And we would also say with the following stipulations that applicant will comply with Gilmore and Associates letter dated November 1st. Also, there will be a shared reciprocal parking agreement, and that we would recommend the 6 waivers asked for tonight would be granted.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
You're
Have a
welcome.
great night.
Having nothing else on our agenda, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of, thank you, sir, on behalf of this commission and Bristol Township, to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And with that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good evening. Meeting is adjourned.